How's it going, everybody? It's Ben here from the Pride of Villa. I thought in this video we'd just have a little bit of a discussion, a Villa Roundup, if you will, about Aston Villa. Obviously, we played the game of Newcastle versus Aston Villa over the weekend, where Villa would see a 2-0 victory at St James's Park. So I thought I'd talk about that, get my thoughts and reactions on that game, so I never really got to do it after the match yesterday. I was a bit busy. And I'd also just thought we'd catch up on any other news that's come out involving some potential transfer news, more specifically talking about Tammy Abraham, as that's the sign that, as we all know, we're currently expecting at the moment. If you are enjoying this video, then please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We want to grow! If you also want to follow me on TikTok as well, we are on TikTok. If you would like to give us a try there, go check us out there for some different type of content. But without further ado, let's get it started. So then, Aston Villa would travel up to St James's Park in another Premier League game, following on from their 1-0 victory against Fenerbahce in the Europa League. A great victory there with the amount of injuries that Aston Villa had. It was amazing to not only see them come away with a clean sheet, but a victory in Turkey against Fenerbahce. Superb result there. But the big game that was to talk about was Aston Villa's trip to St James's Park. Newcastle versus Aston Villa. 4th place versus 9th place, I think it was at the time. A lot of things going into this game. First and foremost, the amount of injuries that Aston Villa had. The fact that in 17 home league games, Aston Villa had never won at St James's Park. It's been over 20 years since Aston Villa won a game at St James's Park under the likes of David O'Leary. And yeah, it was just a general sense of worry, I think, for a lot of people. Because like I said, when you don't have that great record at St James's Park or just away from home in general, it can feel very daunting. And when you have to go to Newcastle, a team that are similar in the way we run, similar in our journeys together, you expected a good game anyway, but also one that you wouldn't be surprised if Aston Villa were to lose it, given the circumstances that Villa were facing. But then also from my perspective, at least, or when I was going into this match, the idea that Newcastle could potentially be got out, and if we were going to try and get that victory against Newcastle, what a perfect opportunity it would be. And obviously, following the game, Aston Villa won. Villa would come out 2-0 victors, getting their first win, like I said, in 20 years, which is a ridiculous thing to think about, given the amount of times we've seen each other. That's even in the Championship as well. Villa haven't been able to do it. And over recent years in the Premier League, given some of the teams that we've seen under Steve Bruce and Eddie Howe, it's just fascinating to see that. Now, given that, for me personally, this is still probably one of the weaker Aston Villa squads that we've seen in quite a few years. And the start that we've had and all just these issues, to still see Villa do this well, it's truly a testament to how great not only the players are, but how great our management is. So obviously, Villa would go into the game with a 2-0 victory. There was a few talking points even prior going into it. First of all, Martinez would come back from his weekly vacation to give us something of a boost in goal. We would also see Onana get some minutes in the game. Buendia would get another start. Leon Bailey would make his team appearance for the first time since leaving for AS Roma midway through this year, getting recalled back, obviously due to the injuries that we had, and also just in general that his time at Roma hadn't been particularly successful. And also a big talking point was seeing Harvey Elliott for the first time on the team bench since November, a 2-month hiatus from him. Again, it's a whole separate video you can make about Harvey Elliott and the discussion there. So if that's something you would like to see, leave in the comments down below. But it was nice to see him on the team bench. Never did come on, unfortunately. Again, given the mitigating circumstances of his transfer deal, it's pretty much not a surprise that he didn't come on there. So bear in mind, we're going into this game with a few injuries, but in the grand sense of things, a lot more of a positive team lineup. And it starts off brilliantly in 90 minutes, and then we went Buendia goal. I know I was stating that it's kind of his honeymoon period was kind of wearing off, but seeing him score that goal yesterday, it was kind of interesting in that he made it felt like, sure, he doesn't do it week in, week out, and sometimes it does dip. But there is a sense of consistency with him. There is a sense of now, compared to what we have seen for the last year or two of Emmy Buendia, we're thinking, is he really good enough to be an Aston Villa player? And don't get me wrong, in some games, he doesn't contribute as much. But I think consistency is always key when it comes to football. And see him consistently over a period of games do so well and always get a goal or assist or whatever, it really speaks a testament to him. Like I said, given he went off away to Bayern Leverkusen and we all thought the journey for him was over, even after the initial days of this season and ultimately on deadline day being staying at the club, to see him come back into it and not only that, now feel like a contributing impact to the team, it's a really nice refreshing change to see. Obviously, as the game goes on, we get more and more into it, a bit more physical. We do see Tielemans go off with a potential injury. Now, we don't know officially the words on that as of recording, so we will have to wait and see what happens there. Again, if you follow me on TikTok, I'll probably post my reaction there and see what we say there. But it's just a little bit disappointing to see, yet again, another midfield player go off. Then also speak to the testament of the refereeing in games. But bear in mind, we've already lost John McGinn now for 6 weeks as of recording. So, again, a bit disappointed. But in the grand scheme of things, compared to like Sabu Kamara, who's pretty much out for the rest of the season, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's actually not that bad. We know Ross Barkley's coming back into training apparently from Friday. Amadou Onana is already getting minutes back in the team again. Let's just hope Yuri Tielemans' injury is really not that serious. But again, we'll talk about that in transfers because it kind of does relate to what I want to talk about there. And then we go on the game, as I said, we carry on. We're still battling away with Newcastle. A few substitutions, the likes of Luke Dean coming on, whips in a brilliant cross, and Ollie Watkins is there to tap it home. I said on my predictions, I'd love an Ollie Watkins goal, and we've gotten that, and it's a really nice, well-taken goal. And I think at that point, it was just the sense of, yes, we battled and dominated with Newcastle throughout the whole game. But see us just overall feel like we had that slight edge on them, which I think from statistically, from what I got told, I think every time Bruno Guimaraes has never played for Newcastle, they've never won, which is incredibly interesting to see. It's like with Manchester City, when Rodri was gone from the team and how much it almost felt like they was in a sharp decline. So Villa dominated the game. And we get the win. We get an incredible win, a 2-0 victory. Like I said, making up from last week's 1-0 loss to Everton at home, which is immensely disappointing. I think the result against Fenerbahce and Newcastle this week has incredibly made up for it, and I couldn't be prouder of them. It showed in Unai Emery's reaction. It showed in the team spirit. And I just think overall, like I said, when you've gone for so long without those games, winning a game at St James's Park, or just at any place like it, it's very demoralising, it's very dejecting. So to see Villa come out and do that against St James's Park and at Newcastle with the strength of the team that they had and the attacking prowess, you know, fair play to them for doing it. If we just quickly look at statistically, 39% possession towards 61 from Newcastle, 2.18 expected goal ratio from Aston Villa's 1.16, 15 shots in total for Newcastle compared to our 14. We had more shots on target by 8 to 4. More accurate passes committed by Newcastle, more fouls, corners, shots, tackles, passes, you know. Yeah, on the surface there, it looks like Newcastle dominated the game, but you've got to sit there sometimes and watch with your own eyes and make up your opinion for that. And I just think from what was seen, it was a very evenly contested team. It's just that ultimately, on the day, we managed to make most of our chances and we put them in the back of the net. Now, obviously, with that result in mind, it does mean Villa now shoot up to third place. We're now level on points with Manchester City following their win against Wolverhampton Wanderers. In terms of results, though, in the Premier League, it's a big one on the weekend. Obviously, the biggest talking point was Arsenal losing at home to Manchester United. First time in ages that they've lost it. But I tell you what, for a team that's meant to be winning the league this season and looking dominant favourites for the last 3-4 years, how poor did Arsenal look last night? It was very shocking to see them. And then in the same reversal, Manchester United, you know, it's interesting to see how the work under Michael Carrick in 2 games can outperform Ruben Amorim over, 13 months was it? It's fascinating, isn't it? Obviously, Chelsea beating Crystal Palace away 3-1. Liverpool, I want to say they lost. Yeah, they lost 3-2 away to Bournemouth. You know, question if Arne Slot's actually going to survive in the job. West Ham winning at home 3-1 against Sunderland. Again, Sunderland seem to be slipping off now from that great start of the season that they had. Burnley drawing 2-2 with Tottenham. Tottenham getting a last-minute equaliser with Cristiano Romero. Be interested to see how much longer Thomas Frank's going to be lasting there. Fulham winning against Brighton to maintain themselves within the top half of the table. You know, they're only, 2 points behind Liverpool in 6th, so you never know there. Nottingham Forest getting an away win at Brentford with 2-0, kind of what they needed following their disappointing defeat against Braga in Europa League. And then as of recording, Leeds are beating Everton 1-0 away from home. So it's all very interesting. Villa, in terms of ourselves, we are 4 points now off of top of the table. I want to say we're playing Bournemouth away next, or at home. It's a good set run of games, I think, for Aston Villa going ahead. We're now 8 points ahead of Manchester United in 4th place, 9 points ahead of Chelsea in 5th, 10 points ahead of Liverpool in 6th place, and then 12 points ahead of Fulham in 7th. So there's a really nice set of distance. Like I said, results like this really make up for it, because it keeps the distance on us from the bottom half of the players. And it also just means we can continue to push that Champions League aspiration. We're still competing on a good front on the Europa League. We've still got an FA Cup game against Newcastle. The world's in our hands if you are an Aston Villa fan. Now, we do still find ourselves 1 week left of the January transfer window, and so far Aston Villa's own contributions are Alisson from Gremio, who we're still yet to see play for Aston Villa as of recording due to an injury, and Brian Maggio, who we don't know yet what's happening with him. Now, obviously, the biggest talking point that Villa can talk about at this point for Aston Villa is Tammy Abraham. As of the last week or two, it was initially brought that Villa were interested. And I think following that Everton game, plus not to mention the injuries that Villa were facing, it became very clear that not only Villa could do with a midfielder, but we could also do with an attacker. It's accelerated very quickly to the point now that, it's a done deal. It's a done deal. Aston Villa will be signing Tammy Abraham. It would appear to be... I'm going to get my facts completely wrong on this, so do bear me in mind with this. 13 million plus Yasin Oscar, the young player that we did sign who went on loan to Anderlecht. It seems like he's going to Besiktas as part of the deal. So I want to say that Villa overall spent 21 million on Tammy Abraham. Now, as of recording, nothing has been officially announced. It's been sources suggesting that it could have been announced today or tomorrow. I would more so anticipate it tomorrow. Again, as of recording, nothing's really been said yet. So if there is any changes, again, look on our TikToks. We'll probably talk about it there. But the one interesting piece of information that did come out from this morning, as a matter of fact, was Besiktas announcing the purchase of Tammy Abraham from AS Roma. Now, obviously, there was a bit of contention on whether Tammy Abraham was still a Roma player at loan on Besiktas, with like a clause that needed to be met, or if he was already a Besiktas player. So it's now been confirmed that he's essentially a Besiktas player. And it would almost definitely be suggesting that Tammy Abraham will be leaving the club. It almost feels a bit weird to see a club announce that in the middle of the January transfer window. But given the speculation and also news that's come out, from Tammy Abraham, it almost feels like the centrepiece. So they're going to confirm that the player was bought for Besiktas, and then they're probably going to confirm the sale, to which Aston Villa, in my opinion, will be seeing an official announcement from them tomorrow to announce Tammy Abraham is officially welcome back to Aston Villa, which I'm very excited for. In terms of that, though, there's actually been no real centre transfer news. We had a guy on Twitter question Ross Barkley about his contract, to which Ross Barkley responded himself, and then the guy on Twitter even still, was having it about Ross Barkley's contract. So I don't know what he thinks he's playing at, trying to question the player himself about his own contract when he knows it more than a lot of us are ever going to know. Okay, but there's been no real talk about a midfielder. There was some rumours that Emi Martinez might be on a move to Inter Milan in the summer, which I would more than so welcome. Apart from that, though, there's not really been much news Villa-wise. It's actually been a pretty quiet day. And like I said, for the last week of the January transfer window, it's very interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what Aston Villa do pull out. Like I said, they're going to need another midfield option. There was talk of Andres Garcia being sent out on loan, but nothing seems to be happening there. I don't know. I don't know. I know they're working within constraints, and I know that, in fairness, Tammy Abraham's deal has probably been the main focus of the window for them. I'd just like to think, given the injuries that Villa are facing, that we will at least have a midfield option. Bear in mind, again, we are getting players back from injury, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Again, I'd like to see a midfield option come in, somebody just to fulfil the role for the next few months. Because we know, again, when we come back in the summer, we've still got Onana, Tielemans. We're going to have McGinn back in a few weeks. We're going to have Kamara back at some point. Ross Barkley, whatever. Who knows what's going to happen to him? I wouldn't be opposed to a younger type of player, trying to murk his way into the team. There's got to be someone that we can get on loan or something. But yeah, we'll have to watch this space. Apart from that, though, there's not really been much news come out. We've had ticket details about some upcoming Aston Villa games. And yeah, something to touch about. So depressing, isn't it? So depressing. Yeah, not really much to talk about there. So with that in mind, then I'm going to wrap up this video because I'm just going to babbling for minutes on minutes, and then it's not fun for anybody, is it? It's not that fun. If you did enjoy this video or these type of videos, please leave a like in the comments down below. I just thought I'd have a little discussion, you know, take away something different from what we normally post or normally try to post. And just try and interact with you guys. Yeah, what can we do? If you do like this, like I said, please like the channel, subscribe to us. Please go and also follow us on TikTok. I have recently been starting on there. Still trying to find my way around it, but I am kind of enjoying it, I must be honest. So if you do like shorter forms of content, we do match previews and almost really instant match reactions, plus any coverings of breaking news stories there. Go check us out on TikTok. It's TPOV Talk. You'll see the symbol there. It's the same as we have on the channel. But without further ado, up the Villa with the pride of Villa. We will see you, actually, as a matter of fact, we will see you at Villa Park for the final Europa League game against RB Salzburg. I will be there, which I'm very excited for. Not only my first game of Aston Villa this season, but my first ever Europa League game, and ultimately European night in a game. Just a shame it's pretty much going to be a dead one. But nonetheless, we will see you for that game of the Villa with the pride of Villa. We'll see you later, boys.